Welcome to the University of Northampton Popular Music Podcast. Hi there, my name is Dr. Stace Constantino. I'm a senior lecturer and the programme leader for popular music at the University of Northampton. Today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Zoe Camper and Julie Samuels.
Woo!
Zoe Camper, FRSA, is a practicing artist and technologist. She's CEO of Zoe Camper LLC, an RSA fellow and co-founder of the Augmented Society Network. She is a London native based in fabulous Las Vegas. Zoe works at the intersection of art and technology. Her creative practice combines labour-intensive, highly detailed drawings with technology to explore storytelling, pattern making, and cryptography. Julie Samuels, FRSA, has extensive experience teaching and leading degree-level courses in digital media and the creative arts. She has also provided corporate training for clients such as FDM Group PLC, the BBC Academy, and Prudential. Julie worked for the world's first digital terrestrial television network paid TV service, ITV Digital, as an interactive television developer. Whilst her career has always been in the creative sector, it has often taken her on a non-practice-based artistic path. Her passion lies in that area. Whether for personal enjoyment or public sharing, her first true love, making art, has been rekindled through every opportunity. So welcome you two, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is your first creative experience memory?
Shall I go first?
If you like.
So that's an interesting question. But my first that I can really remember was, well, there's two really, either mud pie making in the garden or creating a hoist for Action Girl and Action Man down our stairs, which took a lot of creative thinking. Toilet rolls, string, all sorts of things, basically, so that I could hoist Action Man and Action Girl up and down the stairs. My mum would say that you could leave me for hours with very little, actually, and I would be perfectly fine. And that was regularly demonstrated by making mud pies in the garden, which I loved. Didn't need anything much other than some mud and some stones, and just loved doing it.
I used to love making perfume out of rose petals. I remember the first time I made them for my mum. It's still something I still do. I always remembered loving selecting the rose petals, putting them in the water, watch them seep and crush them. I also like making mud pies as well, but making the rose water was always one of my favourite things.
And then a bit later in life, then I guess, at some point you met. How did you tell us about how you met and what that experience was like?
We met at the BBC Academy. Zoe had been there, I think, a few years before, and I joined a while later. I thought Zoe was really scary.
Yeah, and I was scared of you as well. And we did a convergent journalism course, basically, where we all had to do all sorts of different things. So Julie had those skills, and I knew her through a mutual friend, actually, and we got to know each other quite slowly. But I'm very glad we did.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Because I came in obviously later. And so I always saw Zoe as being my boss. And she always wore really, really high boots. And her hair was up in a bouffant. And she made look about 6 foot tall. And she used to kind of stride in and say good morning. I think, oh, she's here. I really need to impress her. I can't do anything wrong. But
I wish I knew that.
You weren't actually the boss, though, were you? That's the irony.
Yeah, but if you can look like a boss, do it, I say.
Yeah, and you did look like a boss, but you weren't.
That's my whole life, that is, Julie.
It works. I was convinced.
What did you find scary about Julie then?
She was quite impenetrable, and I always felt like she had whatever she was doing under control and didn't need input from anyone particularly. It always felt like she had it sorted, and that I couldn't really add anything to her life that would be useful. So I didn't. So that was, she just has a complete kind of aura that I didn't think I could kind of break into.
That's a good facade I've used all my life, I should add. It
shows we both have these personas that we're unaware of.
Yeah. But I think you have to, as women in particular, in an industry that can be dominated by men or certain attitudes of how people perceive you to be, you end up having to role play. We went in as consultants because we were the experts in that field.
Yes.
And therefore we went in and we did our job.
Yeah. So we both thought we knew what we were doing.
Thought we did. We knew what
we did know. Yes.
Yeah, we did know what we were doing. Yeah, and we went in and we delivered the work that we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And we're good at it too. Very good at it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I do miss the canteen though, she'd had.
That was good food, wasn't it? Blimey.
Yeah, the canteen was just to die for.
It was at White City. Then it went to Marylebone High Street. Then it went back to White City.
And it was called Auntie for a reason, wasn't it? BBC, is that right?
Well, I think that would be the Portland Place impression where news is based.
Mm.
The old building, which had room 101 still in it. That would be Auntie to me. White City, obviously that was right at the beginning, but that felt much more kind of new media to me. A lot less. That felt more kind of agency than Auntie. Yeah.
And you're kind of slightly frightened of each other, but at some point you must have started getting on.
Yeah. And I actually, so that was, we absolutely did, but then we all left the BBC and went about our business basically. And
there was about five. It was actually six of us, weren't there? Pretty much. Yeah. We kind of kept on in contact via kind of social media, but in terms of kind of the regular day-to-day contact, once we're no longer working together, that didn't really happen.
Yeah. So we kind of dispersed, didn't we?
Yeah.
We took our genius to other places.
Yeah.
And then
everybody.
I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was 2018, 2019. We got back in touch with each other, and the Augmented Society Network was brand new, and I really wanted to work with Julie because of her application to work, basically, and her academic background. And she just struck me as just one of the people I really wanted to approach to work with on the Augmented Society Network, because I knew she had the credentials. I knew she'd show up, and I knew she would be very proactive. I just knew she would be the right person to work with.
So the RSA is the Royal Society for the Encouragement of Arts, Manufacturers and Commerce, where world-leading ideas are turned into world-changing actions. Their vision is a world where everyone can fulfill their potential and contribute to more resilient, rebalanced and regenerative futures. So that's off the RSA website. So how did you two get involved with the RSA? And then subsequently, you've developed this amazing Augmented Society Network. Tell us about that then.
So I was working at Siberia, the first internet cafe in the UK in 19 94, I think it was, having a great time. And I got a letter, and I'd been anonymously elected as a fellow of the Royal Society. No idea to this day who did it. And I just thought, right, I'm having that. Whatever it is, I'll take it, because you got to put initials after your name, FRSA. Stephen Hawking, for example, has those initials. And I thought, wow, that's just incredible. So I joined a little bit later on, actually. I think that was more like the early 2000s. So it's a fellowship. There are approximately 30,000 fellows. There are only 1,000 plus-ish in the US. So it's still very small over here. And that's partly why I originally set up the Augmented Society Network, to help grow that footprint. But it's an incredible organisation that enables you to meet other very interesting people, go to some interesting talks. But it also enabled Julie and I to kind of showcase our thoughts and actions as well in the shape of our network. So it's been quite a long journey for me, and it's been a very interesting one. But basically, it was a letter in the post originally.
And I joined when Zoe approached and asked me if I was interested in joining. To that point, I'd never heard of them. And they celebrated 270 years this year, and we were featured in the magazine. So it's an organisation that is very well established, and they are very proactive in kind of allowing people to have opportunities to move forward, you know, whether it's personal, professional. Recently, I became a fellows counsellor for the central region, and so that will be interesting, because now within the remit of being part of the RSA, I will be working with lots of people across the region, and seeing what we can do to kind of create opportunities for other people. So I'm really excited about that.
So what's your vision of the Augmented Society Network, which I believe you two started, you're the co-founders of?
Yeah, so I started it a year before actually Julie joined, and I was working with a guy in LA, and it was going great, but I didn't feel that there was enough synergy, and I knew Julie would be just so brilliant to work with. So the whole idea of the Augmented Society Network is to talk about the impact of technology on society, and then society's ability to have an impact on technology, because quite often you've got to be very careful about what you wish for, because you will get it, but it won't be in the form that you thought it might be. And some technologies creep along, others just land. We needed space. We need space to be able to talk about them, to say what's wrong with them and not feel like a Luddite, to say what's brilliant about them and not feel like we're just, oh my God, you know, pray to the God of technology. You need a space to be able to say, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this. Let's talk about it, which is what we do every month, except when I think we have a couple of months off in the year, just to think about what it is that we want to talk about. So it's a space, it's a fellows network. So it's part of the RSA, but it's something that we manage entirely independently.
But see, it's the kind of thing, I guess, if either you do it or you don't. So if I'm going to do something, I'll do it to my best. Otherwise, I just won't bother.
Yeah, and that's what we did.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's always been, you know, with the creativity, with the written piece that we did, reimagining learning. That was, you know, the written piece that we did, and that was the case of when we got 30 plus people, was about 30, wasn't it? That we had to kind of get them kind of rallied together to do their writing and put it together. I think that's kind of where our strength started to kind of show, that we could, even though we were kind of, you know, different kind of time zones, different continents, we were able to kind of still work with people and produce something. Yeah. And it was hard work, but it was really, really good fun. And I got to meet a lot of interesting people, and we got to share really, really good ideas as well.
Yeah, and when you want to do something and not be part of something that's being done, you need that level of commitment. And we both committed to something that we didn't really know what we wanted it to be. There was a lot riding on it in terms of who we were doing it for, and we had to commit 50-50.
Yeah, there's been challenges because obviously we've got different time zones and we're working with people across different time zones, but we managed to make it work for the first piece, reimagining learning, and then so we had the bright idea. It's like, well, what next? Oh,
I don't think it was me, actually. I'm blaming you, but if you want to blame me, you can. I think the other thing is to never underestimate people, never underestimate how brilliant they can be, but also how weird they can be sometimes. And when you're running a network that almost anyone can come to, we've had some really fascinating and in some instances challenging situations, but we've come through it, and now we have advised other people on their networks on how to be with people, how to set expectations, what to do if someone goes a bit off the wall, and so on. And I think again that's where we work really well together, because I think we just feel it, don't we, Julie? Sometimes
yeah.
Hold on, that was amazing. Or, oh, what was that? So I think you need that kind of telepathy as well.
Yeah, we're able to kind of read each other and read the situation as well. So we kind of think, oh, that needs changing. And we automatically will say, okay. And then also we know what each other's strengths are as well, which is important. There's something that Zoe does well, then Zoe will just do it. There's no point in me saying, oh, you know what, I'll do it. That's what your strength is. We work well together, but also we've got key strengths and skills that we bring together.
Yeah.
I'm more you, where's the full stop and comma?
You're not, Julie. You are.
I want to be.
But yeah, a level of...
I'm about the kind of, I like the missing details, the little things that you think, oh, actually, it wouldn't matter, but actually it is important in terms of how the narrative plays out. That's kind of what I like to do. I like to find those little things, because if it annoys me, it will annoy other people. I annoy people myself, but there we go.
No comment.
But it's the idea about giving everyone a voice. So there will be experts that come in, but we're not experts on all the subjects. But it's the opportunity to listen. It's very important. It's about the art of listening and understanding and giving people that space to, and us also to kind of digest the information that we're learning.
And also, some of this tech is so complicated with so many implications, you might lose track a bit, but you might actually work in the tech field. So it's nice to have a space where you can just listen for a bit and then realize and then kind of weigh up where you think you are without any judgment, without any, oh my God, you didn't know that. Wow, I'm amazed. Stuff going on. Very non-judgmental.
Because we're all here to learn, and this is a unique opportunity to learn something. And every time we have a session, I learn something new. I thought, wow, I had no idea.
Went into a fake American accent there. So I'm going to apologise right now. Yeah, it's like, ooh, and that's wrong, because that's not what I want to be doing. But yeah, we have a lot of fun as well, Julie and I, just trying things out for each other, really trying things out for ourselves. Sometimes we say the most ridiculous things, but you know, we don't mind. Really, and that's
nobody else seems to mind either. Because the idea, because it's an hour out of everyone's time. It also has to be fun. You can't just be like, you know, a serious. There's laughter and there's banter in it, and and it becomes more like a community of friends. We've become friends with the people that are there regular, even people that drop in occasionally. We have a nice rapport with them, and that also is really, really important. We're not, so you don't have to turn up all the time, but to know that you're engaged and you're interested, that's and that you're learning and we're learning, that's mission accomplished, really.
Yep, I agree.
So perhaps like me, you, our engagement with tech was very utopianistic, I think. And this is Cyber Cafe, Siberia Cafe, so there was a lot of tech optimism on the political side of things. It would be some emancipatory kind of thing that would happen. Maybe it's a left wing dream of some kind, or a left liberal dream that fraternity of humankind.
And that's the space that Julie and I kind of find ourselves in, of saying, no, it's not always right.
We don't want to be led by technology. Technology cannot lead us.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. It's so easy to get drawn to the next best thing and be led by technology, but that's not the solution to a lot of the problems. But technology is seen to be the solution, and often it's not. That adds another layer of complication.
And it's all part of a cycle, isn't it, of something new and shiny, and we all think it's new and shiny and wonderful. And then you start to read the terms and conditions and you think, oh, that's not what I envisaged, because the new world, going back to before the internet with Usenet and groups and what we thought the future would be, and then the advent of the internet, we were all just utterly shocked and bowled over. And it took a lot of time to actually then think, hold on a minute, or it did for me anyway, because I was just so excited about the whole thing. New career, new job, exciting stuff going on, meeting Julie, working at the BBC Academy, just thinking technology was it.
We just raced full steam ahead with everybody else. No brakes applied, let's just embrace this. And suddenly, decades later, the carnage is there to see, because there were no implementation, there were no steps, there were no consequences for things that might go wrong. It was just
and the law's catching it now. So the law always, comes a few years later. And when it was initially thought about, it was all altruistic, or how do we make money out of this? The usual reason for a law. Some of those things, again, were good, some of them not so good. So the California law, is it 214? I can't remember, 204, where it was deemed that the internet provider was the provider of the technology to connect, but nothing to do with the content, which is being challenged now, which has allowed some of the most appalling things to happen. But was that the freedom that the internet needed to gain a foothold? Probably. But everything is catching up with itself. Social media, case in point, it was great. It was lots of fun. But now we're realizing just what a burden and an addiction it can be.
There's also the issues to do with ownership, where you don't read the small print and you share, you overshare.
That's you.
It.
That's not me.
It's done then, isn't it? It's out, and you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's out there, and I think those consequences were never foreseen. Really, people just went ahead and did what they were going to do, not thinking that decades later they might want to do something, and actually you can't. Look at the current, with in the UK, when the politicians are kind of rallying to see who's going to be down in the street next. And the comments that were made on social even 10 years ago, they've come out, and now what they're having to do, they're having to resign for a comment that they made a decade ago. The point is, they should never made the comment in the first place, but even worse, it was written down. So there was evidence of it, and you can't say it wasn't you, because it was you. And careers are kind of can be launched and they can be destroyed.
Which is why I'm glad I'm as old as I am, but I do want to be younger. I am so grateful for not having the internet, the web around when I was 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, because oh my God, I can't imagine a world with that in when I was that age.
Mm.
And so I'm very grateful that what I was experimenting with, what I was trying out, you know, all the things you do when you don't know what your politics are, you don't know what you think about things, they remain with me. And the very few friends I have left.
Because there's
more than that.
You know, I think because it's pre-technology, there was a lot of freedom, and there was a lot of having to find information yourself and fact check the information, whereas now it's given to you, and the search for the truth is always there. There's the burden on you, the onus is on you, is to find out what the truth is. And whereas
And
before,
I wish more people were doing that, actually, Julie.
Yeah,
I completely agree. But it's incredibly important that we do know that the truth is there, because I feel like in certain situations, people are just saying there is no truth. And I think that's incredibly dangerous.
I think it's incredibly sad. And if this is what the reflection of society is, then the future is very, very bleak. The very bleak future. You know, we have to believe in ourselves first and foremost, and we have to care for other people. I think it's just as simple as that. We have to believe in us. We have to care, and if we don't care for other people, and we lose that, then the future is just not a future that. Well, I'm glad I'm old. I will add in then.
Oh, Julie. Yeah, it's about kindness, isn't it? It's about being kind, giving people that space that maybe when I was younger I didn't. I was quick to judge. I don't feel I'm quick to judge as much.
But social media and the way the internet is now, how we use it, it is all judgmental. It is purely judgmental, and that's not good for anybody.
Yeah. I do love a cat video though.
I like a dog video. But I like the videos where the politicians get caught out. That's even more fun at the moment.
Oh, so I'm gonna have to move on from cats then. Damn it.
Oh yeah. I think when I first started out, the companies that I worked for, if you did anything technical, you would tend to be one of very few females on a technical team. Most of the females, predominantly, they would be on the design side of it. So if you're doing kind of technical, it was predominantly male. I mean, that has changed immensely now. But initially, when I first started, it'd be a team. I worked as a consultant to go in as a developer, and there might be one other female in maybe a group of like 15, but they're all men. And they were misogynistic as well, I should add. They were pretty appalling, some of the males that I was unfortunate to work with. But that has definitely changed.
But wasn't the first sound studio for Doctor Who, that was a woman, wasn't it?
Delia Derbyshire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Definitely.
But I didn't know that until relatively recently. So has the stature of women increased in terms of what they do creatively, particularly in the soundscape area, or DJing, for example, which is massive over here? Every casino has a club. They have a huge roster of, I would say, 95% men. It's overwhelmingly male, as is the club scene. So it is absolutely still the case that I could go, I could get in for free, and just to fill the space up. Women pay nothing in relation to what men pay to get into the clubs. We're extremely unrepresented, except I would say in the day clubs here. There are a small number of female DJs who do day and night, but there's a much better mix in the day club scene of men and women, I would say. There's less so in the night scene. But whenever you look at the posters, on massive posters, it's 95% male. So yes, there is movement, but it's still very hard to find. Some great female technology artists, who are doing some extraordinary things. I've been spoken over so many times. I worked on the first AI virtual assistant in the UK, but I would go to a meeting with a male friend. They would ask him. He didn't do anything. He did nothing on the tech. I did it. And every time it's like, excuse me, over here. Excuse me, over here. I'm working on, as we've all been involved in virtual reality, the younger generation is much better at accepting women in technology than perhaps our peers, Julie.
Definitely.
I find, Las Vegas is a very odd situation in that I've had some astonishing meeting with men in cowboy hats and boots, which I've found really hard. I went to the economic club the other day, 90% male. It's a very interesting world out here, actually.
I'm surrounded by farmers, black fields.
Male and female, Julie, or just male?
Predominantly male. The farming industry is a male industry. There are female farmers that are kind of working their way through, but for young farmers in particular, it's a hard business to be in anyway. But they have their own technology, and actually technology in farming is actually advancing quite quickly. Due to climate change.
It's huge at CES every year. There were lettuces being grown in hydrogen-based atmosphere, so you could just see the roots coming out. There was no earth around them. It's moved on from hydroponic to this just sort of clean. I hate that word, but totally different way of growing things. The way computers are used and satellites to harvest. It's just absolutely phenomenal. But how that works in terms of the ratio of men to women, I don't know. What I do know is there are some just totally phenomenal women working in almost every sector. Will you hear about them? Not really. You might get a conference where someone wants to mix it up a bit, where they realise they can't go on just inviting middle-aged white men. You go to things, and if it's all middle-aged white men, I'm not staying anymore. I might have stayed before. I'm not staying now.
I don't even get, as some people say, certain people wouldn't get an invite to that table anyway, to that venue, would they? It is it's like in the UK, it's very, very cliquey, the amount of the connections of friends, of family, peerage families or whatever, and it's everybody that knows each other, and they keep that network quite tight.
So at this club I went to the other day, there was one black woman, there were 3 Asian women, and that's an American definition of Asian. Me as a white woman and another Hispanic lady. When it came to the photography of the event and recording the event, we were all in it, but we were 5-6 people out of 90.
Wow.
That's how they wanted to report the event. So I find that quite fascinating too, in the way that they realise that they need to change, but they're just not really. They're trying, but I don't think they're trying in the best way. It was obvious to us when we looked at the photos what they were doing.
What could they try? What could they do to try in the best way? What should they do?
I think marketing to a wider membership, actually marketing into different companies, different businesses, different.
I think acknowledging that there is an issue to start with, and this is why that tokenistic. Let's get the photo. You shouldn't have to do that. The fact is, if that's what you have to do, you acknowledge that there is a problem with how you attract a wider audience, and that's what you address.
So that's a systemic issue. That is exactly as I see the world. I've got issues myself, I know, but I try to address them as I go through. If you don't realise that everything isn't how you see it, you're not going to change. And I think that's part of the issue with some of the policing of our community is it's systemic. And that has to be understood. If you police as a 30-year-old white male, you are going to police with those glasses on. If you're going to police as a 50-year-old black woman, you're going to police with those eyes on. And I think that's where I'd love to have that conversation of Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, those minute moments where it will be, I won't be arrested, I'll just be told off. Julie will be arrested and carted off.
Almost rhymed,
rightly so, actually, rightly so. Yeah, she's probably done something. But
the problem that we've got now, though, is the kind of the problem, what we consider, in quotations, problems that we have in the real world. We've taken that onto the digital world with us. The prejudice, the kind of inconsistencies, and the attitudes that we have, whether good, bad, or ugly. We've not been able to leave that behind. We've taken that with us into the virtual world.
Yep.
So we can't change who we are.
Yeah, ImageNet uses the metadata structure that was developed by a group of guys at Stanford in the 70s. The very way we understand the world is something that was created ages ago. There was a fantastic exhibition on at the Curve at the Barbican, and it had ImageNet images and the terms that were used to find them. And it was just such an
I saw that exhibition.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
An amazing experience of, oh my God, this is just recreating everything we know that's wrong.
And I think that's why we like to do the projects that like we did at the Creativity Office, a new formula for life, because we get people together that look at things differently. We share ideas, we have conversations, and we kind of think about, not in an ideal world, but what can we contribute to make things better for ourselves and for others? I think that's kind of why we like to do the Augmented Society Network sessions and then the projects that come from it as well.
And I think it's about taking leadership on, Julie. If we didn't do this, I don't know who would, but I want to do it. And it's actually having the confidence to say, no, we're doing it. And Julie and I have done some pretty incredible things just because we decided we were going to do it. And that's energizing. Yeah.
And we have, the fact, that Stace, you joined us on this twice, 2 different pieces, what Michael in to do something, a fantastic experience that we had in private view. But the idea that experience taps into kind of every part of your existence and actually makes you want to do more or do better is really kind of what I think it's all about. And I think that was, that's kind of that's the momentum that we have, which is why I've always done LinkedIn. Zoe, what next?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. So clearly there's still a long way to go by the sounds of it, but things are beginning. There seems to be a potential better horizon in some ways ahead, although also there are dangers ahead as well. Anyway, what's next for you two and the Augmented Society Network?
So we need to evaluate what we've just done. So we've had 2 exhibitions. We went from 27 artists to 30 something. We went from, London and in VR to Worcester in IRL and VR. The way we're displaying artists' work is changing. We'd like to understand what the impact was of what we've done. So, we've had people who've never drawn before start drawing. We've had people start new projects. We've had all sorts of things going on. But what is next for us is to actually understand how we make the most of that and how we take that forward. And I don't know yet what that is, but I do know that I've got a meeting with a public gallery here coming up to talk about the next iteration of bringing the artists. So we took the Vegas artists to London, we took them to Worcester. Now we're taking the British artists to the US. And I think that will be something that we'll start to look at. But once we've understood, because the effort involved in this is huge. And there's been a couple of occasions where Julie and I have asked ourselves, why? Why we're doing this?
So, well, why not? Why not? It's an opportunity to meet people.
Of some people don't really know what we're about and what we're doing, and they don't pick up on it and they don't reply to emails. Other people are all over it and love it and understand it. So it's a matter of explaining ourselves better, I think, and then just going with the people who want to go. I think that would be something that would make it a little bit easier for us. But we like the challenge.
We've also just put together a chapter that will be published hopefully in a book. And the chapter meant that we had to really kind of think about what the network is, why we do creativity, and the impact that it has on the artists and the communities that they work with. So writing that for us was actually the first time we really kind of consolidated why it is we do what we do.
Yeah.
And we need to do more of those kind of written pieces where we kind of say, okay, we've done a next phase, and I think through that writing, it became, in many ways, the work is important, but it's also but what becomes more important is the kind of the conversations and the opportunities for other people to find out who they are, find out what they want to do and how to develop. And since the exhibition, I've been looking on Instagram, and a lot of people that were kind of quite precious or were kind of unsure about showing their work, and are actually showing work in development to say, this is what I'm doing. And they're actually feeling a lot more confident and inspired to make work, which is also really what I think that's what it's about as well.
Yeah, because we constantly just understand what it was we were doing ourselves.
Yeah.
Not always immediately obvious what we're doing, but to see the impact of that just on that first exhibition was extraordinary. Some of the statistics that we put together, the people we'd reached, the people who'd seen the content, the people who'd visited the VR gallery, all of that stuff, measuring the impact of what you're doing. Some of it's hard to gather. Some of it's just dead easy because it's digital. So I think we'll take some of that and then we'll do something really silly and brilliant. And I'm up for that any day of the week.
Yeah, definitely. And Stace, another soundscape, please.
Yeah, that was an extraordinary experience.
And look, it was wonderful, wasn't it, to be there in that space with you and Michael? It was really, really wonderful.
Thanks, very kind of you. You enabled that, so you should take a lot of credit for that, because Michael and I just talked about this, and we were thinking about Rebel Misfit, and it was just initially it was just going to be Partial Outsiders played again, wasn't it? On the static system.
Yeah.
And I thought it's going to be boring. It's too boring. Live performance is more interesting.
Yeah.
And then Julie's.
Was it?
Sorry, say again.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and Julie said Julie gave some ideas about we could go out and record people in Worcester, but it wasn't feasible. So we recorded people in Northampton. I mean, then that's opened us up to people in Northampton, their opinions about the world, and that's tied us here as well. And also someone in Worcester said Northampton is shoes to us as we are pottery to you. So it's the two other sides
Yeah.
of Mercia, and then we joked about being in Mercia and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So it has opened. So what you've done there. So I'm sorry talking about myself, but what you two have done, you enabled that would not have happened. That has enriched the world.
Yeah, that's what these projects are about, really, isn't it, Julie?
Definitely.
So I would love to do another soundscape. I wonder what though. Anyway, casinos. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
What's that coast on England? What's that coast near you? Skeggy.
Skeg Vegas.
Skeg Vegas, yeah.
But I was thinking about you this morning because obviously moving into a new house, it's all sounds I don't recognise. So there's an entry system that obviously they've stopped the contract on. And I don't know if you've heard it, but it's driving me nuts. It goes beep, 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 beep. And then 10 minutes later, well, it's more than that actually, and I don't know how to turn it off. The washing machine sounds entirely different. You've got the swimming pool in the background with water. And I'm thinking, water, what the hell's going on? It's all such new sounds.
You need to record it.
Of Eustace and the soundscape I'm now in. And I thought, oh.
You need to record those sounds and that experience.
Yeah. I won't, but yes, because I need to I will express my drawing, but I want to do video, and that's where sound really comes into its own. So there's this guy called Johnny Wiley here, who's the most amazing musician. He made the ASN soundtrack for us. So he created intro, outro, loop, everything for us. So our own podcasts sound, until you get to the talking, really great. But the idea of actually needing sound is something that's new to me, but I'm getting it more and more. I want those sounds, and I'm not going to take them from anyone else, although I do on Instagram, because you can. But the idea of creating original sound is so I've just made a video for my new exhibition, which is a mixture of different tracks from something that Johnny made for me for my fashion show last year. But he gave me all the stems, are they? So I've been remixing them and having fun with that, and then just beginning to realise how important audio is.
It adds to that experience, doesn't it? It makes it more inclusive and gives you more of an understanding of what it is you're experiencing.
And I loved Laurie Anderson. That was probably my first female soundscape artist experience.
Well, thank you for that. Is there anything you want to say? Obviously, you need to send me a link. All the links you want and all the text, send it to me and I'll put it in to the description. So I think, well, if we're signing off now, I think one thing I would like to say is just join us, please, because Julie and I are mixing up some conversations across is it the Atlantic? Yeah. You know, we're 5,000 miles apart, and yet we're having these most incredible conversations. We're planning our new, I call it curriculum, just because Julie does, because she knows all about this stuff. We've got some great stuff coming up. We're looking at Computer Says No, you know, the post office, huge disaster, looking at how not to just take what a computer says as fact, and understanding, you know, when those things happen to you. Border control, you know, image grabbing when you go into a shopping centre. Come and join us, because we've got some really great stuff lined up.
The journey starts here.
Yeah.
How are people going to join you then? Do they email you? How do they sign up?
So there's a website, and we're mainly marketed through the RSA. Actually, that's who does our marketing. So it's generally to fellows, but everyone is welcome. We've got a website which we'll put the link up for you so you can join us. It's every third Thursday of the month, 7 p.m. UK, 11 a.m. West Coast US.
We also use LinkedIn. So if you find us on LinkedIn, we post the events. We share the events there as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining me. And thank you for doing this Augmented Society Network. Thanks for asking me to be part of it and being so nice to me and Michael. Me and Michael now, thanks to Julie, the Tweedledum and Tweedledee or spatial audio. So
Fantastic. And maybe you'll all be coming across for the next show in early 2025. I don't think we can put it off this year, but we're going to be doing something fantastic.
So yeah, well, you need some reflection time, don't you? By the sounds of it, and you need to
definitely,
recharge your batteries and whatnot.
Yeah,
but that would be amazing. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, well, you're on the list already, whether you like it or not.
Oh my God!
Look at that happy face.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you found it enjoyable or interesting, please like and subscribe, and even leave a comment down below if you like.